Well, Manif, it's really great. I'm based out in England. It is about 10 p.m. at night, and so we generally have an international audience
Okay.
who tune in, and I really love to hear and celebrate our R&B our artists because during the 80s and 90s we really fell in love with the music, and sadly today we don't get that same quality of music. So there's a lot of nostalgia to go back and talk to our favorite artists, but also even hear their journey, because so much of those days was pretty much here's the music and we promote the music, but we never really got to know the people behind the music. So um, we just like to start off by saying, where were you born and raised, so that our audience can get a sort of an idea of where you are, where you're
I am a
from.
native New Yorker. I was born in the borough of Manhattan in New York City. I am from East Harlem, New York. So I'm a
Okay.
Harlem girl. I know
Okay.
everybody knows Brooklyn and Harlem. There's those kind of like the everywhere you go. But I'm
Yeah.
from Harlem, New York, and a proud Harlem native. So born and raised in New York City.
So I guess for if when it's hip hop, we all know about Brooklyn and Queens, but when it's like R&B and soul, it's Harlem that seems to be what's resonant to most of us who are not in America.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
How was
That's
it
it.
like growing up in Harlem?
It was I grew up in the hood, there was a lot. I grew up my formative years, my teenage years, I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 72, so my teenage years were dead in the middle of the crack epidemic
Wow.
uh in New York City in mid 80s, right? So it was like a war zone. I had a life I had like a parallel life because I've been working in the industry since I was 7 years old, doing commercials, theater since second grade, seven, been professional. And so I had like this parallel life. And so, on one hand, where I grew up at is like I'm experiencing things that no child, no human being for that matter, but especially a child should be experiencing, the death of their friends by, gun violence, and just watching a lot of, family member, like some family members, friends, the community, the people in the community fall victim to the crack epidemic. It was just really very interesting how I, the survival mechanism, and then having this whole completely different world, professional world, creative world, where I was meeting tons of different people, working with tons of different people, like Morgan Freeman, Charles Dutton, um, and copious amounts of other people as a kid, Gregory Hines, Maurice Hines, like, and I'm living, in the middle of this, of the urban jungle, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen it in films, New Jack City and stuff like that, and and not really understand how bad it was. What was life before the sort of crack epidemic, like especially in
Well,
Harlem? Do you remember that, like in the
it was
70s?
beautiful, it the when I was coming up, I remember it. I remember being a young child, and it being more of a sense of community, like your friends, parents, we all watched out, everybody watched out for each other's kids, and there was a lot of respect. There was a lot of, still, I grew up in a time of community and the
Yeah,
village.
yeah.
So, and respect for my elders. And, Miss Frederick had the right to, give me a little pop if I did something. She saw me, I'm gonna tell your mother, but and all that stuff. So I grew up in that, and then I watched it turn into this weird war zone situation.
Wow.
As and then having people on both sides. My brother felt, prey to crack addiction,
Wow.
and my brother, my brother also, we incidentally, all of us had our bouts with addiction. They're 12 and 13 years older than me, so they were way ahead of me in their teen years. So uh my I watched that in certain family members and my friends' family, older brothers and sisters. be affected by crack. And then we knew people. Then there was the other side of having friends that were selling, and and that part of it being glorified and glamorized, because the street dealers and the artists, the musicians, it just like that's always been a thing. That's always kind of, you know, those worlds always kind of meshed, you know, um, from from the jazz era on. You know what I mean? Because music, uh, musicians want to make a lot of money like the street dealers. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I have a head cold. I'm so
No.
sorry.
So-
I'm sorry. Just I'm gonna have to mute real quick.
yeah, it's
Well,
fine.
you can mute.
It's fine. No, it's fine. Okay.
Yeah, I have a little head cold, so I might have to do that.
No, it's,
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere like a day ago. I was like, oh my goodness. But those worlds always have, meshed the arts and the streets, especially in Harlem, because dealers get, they have money. They want to hang out with the stars. The stars want to, hang out with the cats with that gonna pay them to do stuff. That's always been kind of like a thing. Um, so just kind of seeing it, having experiencing it from both angles, was just like very strange,
wow.
interesting.
No, I mean, as I said, I will have to do some research in that because it just seems as if it's almost like somebody came in and infected a community with this for a reason of trying to destroy a community because that it just sounds like it was just like planted because just from nowhere it just because it turns everyone upside down.
Well, yeah, I mean, first it was, you know, um, heroin was huge, and then crack was, and then cocaine, that was more of a luxury situation. But it just became what it became. Yeah,
So,
it's
so,
unfortunate.
but you said you started to sing professionally at age 7. How did you even start getting into music that early?
My first manager
Manager.
was.
No, I'm talking when you said it was 7, so I'm trying to go back.
Yeah, no, I am taking you back. My first manager was my second grade teacher. So when we were doing
Oh goodness.
yeah, my we were doing a class production,
Okay.
and I auditioned, to sing a song because and I sang and she was blown away. And we had a special connection. We ended up being like on like that was like my second mom. So it's like me and this Jewish lady that's the same age as my mother, who I was also my mother was my first best friend. So it's like we were really close. She asked my mom if she could take me to her friend's agency, and my mother, had a talk with me. As long as you keep your grades and do your schooling, you can do what that's cool with me. And I started doing auditions, and I started doing national commercials, and that's just that was how it started.
But where did you learn how to sing? Because for this to be recognized at age 7, where were you singing?
It's in the genes. My mom's side is super musical.
Okay.
My mom used to sing. My uncle and my uncles played instruments. My youngest uncle, my mom's youngest brother, and the baby of the six, was a child prodigy pianist.
Okay.
Everybody. My grandmother sang. She sang in a group. What's the style of music that like I forgot what the style is, but my grandmother would have been 100. So whatever was going on in the 20s,
Yeah.
when she was a teenager. Uh, I just came from a musical family, and I just, it was there. I love
Okay.
music.
So it's not like most of our other guests who, they learn their chops in church and they sort of then from there they
Yeah, I didn't
expanded.
grow up in church. Yeah, I didn't grow up in church. So it was in the genes, and then my mother loved music, loved jazz, all types of music, and my brother loved music. So between the two of them, and my dad, but mostly between the two of my of them, my mom and my brother, I was flooded with all types of music and exposed to different things. Period, creatively.
So when your teacher becomes a manager and is getting you to do these things, did you then have a sense of, oh, this is a career that I'd like to pursue, or was it just like,
I knew it from even before that because I would put on these concerts. That's all I did at home. I was doing that from when I was like 2 to 3 years old. My first concert, my aunt took me to, was Shaka Khan, who I was in love with, and I mean, still, still in love with her. But um, she was like the first, person like and that was my first concert, and I was Shaka Khan for Halloween when I was 4 and 5. Those 2 years, I was her, and so I just that's just how it started. I was doing concerts and imagining singing in front of a huge audience, and I think that is exactly how things came to fruition. That's one of the things I say we forget to, because as adults we become so jaded, we forget to use our imagination and remember how powerful our mind is and our imagination is to help things to actually manifest,
yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm a child psychotherapist,
uh,
and when I'm dealing with teenagers who struggle with depression and low self-esteem, it's this is we try to work alongside of that. So I'm always part of what we do here was actually to hear these stories, just to be able to give people inspiration when they do find a roadblock, just to see how you guys were
exactly.
able to do it back then. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.
I begin to